All right, in this explainer, we're going to break down a specific type of health cover from AIA. It's really designed to tackle one of the most stressful parts of any health journey, and that's the long, uncertain wait for a diagnosis. So let's dive in.
You know the feeling, right? Your GP tells you that you need to see a specialist, and your mind just immediately jumps to two big worries. How long am I going to be stuck waiting in the public system? And oh my gosh, how much is it going to cost to go private?
And wow, have a look at these numbers. This slide really lays out just how quickly those private costs can stack up. Based on AIA's own data, just that first visit to a specialist can set you back up to $700. And if you need something more involved, like an MRI or a colonoscopy, you're suddenly looking at thousands of dollars out of your own pocket, all just to find out what's going on.
Okay, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We'll start by talking about the problem, what we're calling the waiting game. Then we'll get into exactly what specialist and testing support, or STS, actually is. We'll break down the coverage, see how it works in the real world, and, super important, we'll be really clear about what's not covered. Then we'll wrap up by helping you figure out if it might be a good fit for you. So first things first, let's really frame the core issue that a product like this is designed to solve. Why is just getting answers so challenging in the first place? Well, this number, it really tells the story. According to the data from AIA, in the first quarter of 2025, only 58% of people got their first specialist appointment within 4 months. I mean, think about that. That means over 40% of people were waiting even longer than that, just for a first chat. That is a long, stressful time to be left in the dark. So, with those long wait times and high private costs in mind, how do you bridge that gap? Well, this is where AIA has positioned its specialist and testing support, or STS, as a potential tool to do just that. So what is it exactly? Well, think of STS as a pretty straightforward entry-level insurance benefit. It has one job and one job only, to help cover the costs of those private specialist visits and diagnostic tests you need to find out what's wrong. The whole idea is to get you answers faster so you can get on a treatment path, which is often back in the public system sooner. Now, this right here is probably the most important thing to get your head around. The key difference. STS is all about the diagnosis. The part where you're finding out what the problem is. It is not the same as comprehensive health insurance. That's the stuff that's designed to cover the actual treatment, the surgeries, the hospital stays, the things you need to actually fix the problem. Okay, let's pop the hood and get into the specifics. What exactly does this benefit cover? And what are the numbers we're talking about? First up, let's talk about consultations with specialists. The cardiologists, gynecologists, and so on that you get referred to. For those visits, the policy gives you up to $10,000 of cover each year. And then, for the really big-ticket items, we're talking the actual diagnostic tests and procedures, like MRIs, PET scans, colonoscopies, all those lab tests, the coverage jumps way, way up. It's got a limit of up to $100,000 per policy year. The policy also has a couple of specific allowances that kind of unlock over time. After you've had the cover for 3 years, you get a health screening benefit for things like skin checks, and that wait drops to 2 years if you're an AIA Vitality member. There's also a $1,500 allowance for pregnancy and infertility services, but that one only becomes available after you've had the cover for 2 years straight. So we've seen the numbers, but what does this actually look like in the real world, for real people? Let's check out a couple of case studies from AIA to really see how this benefit works. So first, let's meet Georgie. She's 24, she's on a budget, but she really wants to have a bit more control over her health. So she adds STS onto a life insurance policy she has. About 10 months later, her doctor refers her for a colonoscopy. And just like we talked about at the start, she was looking at a really long wait in the public system, which you can imagine caused a lot of worry. And this is exactly what the benefit is designed for. Georgie was able to use her STS cover to get that colonoscopy done privately and much, much sooner. For her, a polyp was removed, and she got that incredible peace of mind of just knowing what was going on with her body. All right, now for a totally different scenario. Let's meet Ravi. He's 60, he's getting close to retirement, and his main priority is really managing his budget and cutting down on his expenses. So for Ravi, a full, comprehensive health policy was just starting to feel too expensive. So after getting some advice, he made a pretty strategic switch. He swapped out his comprehensive cover for the much more affordable STS benefit, so he could keep that crucial cover for getting a diagnosis. A few months go by, and Ravi needs to see a cardiologist.
He uses his STS to get a private appointment and gets a diagnosis: coronary artery disease. And with that diagnosis confirmed, he was then able to get on the public wait list for the actual treatment he needed. It's a perfect example of using STS as that bridge to get into the public system. So we've seen what STS can do, which is great, but it is just as important, maybe even more important, to be crystal clear on what it doesn't do. Understanding the limitations here is absolutely essential.
Okay, the big one, as we've already said, is treatment after you've got a diagnosis. That's out. It also generally won't cover pre-existing conditions unless you disclose them upfront and AIA specifically agreed to cover them. Services outside of New Zealand are not covered, and neither are your routine visits to GPs, dentists, or psychologists. And of course, it's not going to pay for anything that ACC should be covering or for procedures that are purely cosmetic. All right, so let's pull all of this together. How do you actually decide if something like specialist and testing support is the right move for your situation? Here are 4 key things to really think through. First, what's your number one priority? Is it getting a fast diagnosis, or is it having the cost of treatment covered? Second, check if you're even eligible. Remember, STS isn't a standalone thing. You have to add it to another qualifying AIA policy. Third, and I can't stress this enough, you have to fully understand its limits. It's a bridge to a diagnosis, not a full treatment plan. And finally, the source material always recommends this. Talk to a professional advisor to get advice that's actually tailored to you. And that really brings us to the final question to leave you with. When it comes down to your health, to your peace of mind, what would it really mean to you to get clarity faster? Could getting those answers sooner change your story?